Was I wrong for what I did? Did I cross a line that night under the harsh glow of the stadium lights? I'm talking about risking everything. My reputation, my acceptance to MIT, and the physical safety of my fragile, book-smart body. Just to win back a girl who had already walked away. You decide. I, Alex, the kid who could debug 1,000 lines of code blindfolded, decided to fight Kevin the Titan Miller, the school star quarterback, a mountain of muscle and entitlement. I didn't do it to beat him. I did it to show Maya, the only woman I've ever loved, that the so-called boring nerd was capable of absolute, earth-shattering passion. Imagine the sheer, terrifying absurdity of that moment. Me standing toe-to-toe with my physical opposite, ready to trade blows for a second chance at love. Tell me if you would have had the guts, or the foolishness, to throw that first, desperate punch. My life, before the shattering began, was a beautifully ordered spreadsheet. I was on the fast track to success, straight A's, the lead developer for the robotics club, and accepted early decision to my dream university. And at the center of my meticulously planned universe was Maya. We weren't a dramatic couple, we were an anchor. We spent our weekends in quiet cafes, me coding, her sketching, occasionally sharing a silent, comfortable smile over a lukewarm latte. She knew my vulnerabilities, the paralyzing fear of public speaking, the anxiety over my parents' impossibly high expectations. And I knew hers, the self-doubt about her art, the way she worried about her little sister. We were a sanctuary for each other. 3 years of shared history, whispered secrets, and the comforting promise of a future that felt as certain as the sunrise. I didn't just love her. I relied on her presence as a fundamental structure of my life. She was the operating system that made my world run smoothly. Then the virus attacked. Kevin Miller. He was the human equivalent of a system crash. His arrival in Maya's orbit wasn't subtle. It was a loud, obnoxious collision. It started when Maya, brilliant and ambitious, took over the features section of the school paper. Her first assignment, an in-depth profile on the making of a champion. Kevin. I remember the night she came home after their first meeting. Her voice was too bright, her eyes too wide. Alex, you wouldn't believe it, she'd gushed, tossing her backpack onto the chair. He's not just brawn. He talked about the pressure, about how he has to be the face of the school. He's actually vulnerable under all that muscle. That single word, vulnerable, lodged itself in my mind like a shard of glass. I, too, was vulnerable, but mine was wrapped in thick-rimmed glasses and quiet intelligence, not $1 million smile and a six-pack. The subtle betrayals piled up. Late-night editorial meetings that stretched past midnight. Texts from him that she'd quickly swipe away when I entered the room. The way she'd start wearing a specific, small silver necklace he'd apparently given her as a token of appreciation for her amazing journalism. I tried to be the mature, rational boyfriend. He's just an assignment, Maya. You're too smart to fall for that tired jock shtick, I'd tell myself, clenching my jaw. But one damp, miserable Tuesday, when I brought her favorite Thai takeout to her house, I saw it. Her car was gone. Her mom, eyes averted, mumbled something about Maya being out with friends. 2 hours later, I saw them. Not on a friendly coffee date, but parked at the Overlook, laughing intimately, his head bent close to hers. The air in my lungs froze. It wasn't the physical intimacy that hurt. It was the casual, easy betrayal of our routine, our trust, our 3 years of history. When she finally ended it, a week after the Overlook incident, ironically right before our anniversary, the reason she gave was even worse than the truth. I feel stifled, Alex, she'd whispered, her voice cracking. I need something that challenges me. You're too safe. I need to figure out who I am when I'm not defined by us. Too safe. Too predictable. Too boring. That single word became my new reality. A few days later, the school's social media was flooded with pictures. Maya and Kevin, arms linked, beaming at a football rally. They went official, immediate, and utterly unapologetic. My friends tried to rally around me, suggesting I focus on my code, on my future, on anyone but her. But they didn't understand. Losing Maya wasn't like losing a girlfriend. It was like the fundamental constants of the universe had changed. Every line of code looked wrong. Every equation felt hollow. My future, once so clear, was now just a vast, terrifying blank. I was a brilliant mind trapped inside a useless body, capable of solving global issues but utterly powerless to solve the one problem that mattered. My broken heart. The humiliation peaked during lunch the following Friday. I was walking past their usual table, trying to look invisible, when Kevin decided to make a show. He reached out and snagged the strap of my backpack, jerking me to a stop. "Hey, look who it is, guys. The one and only Alex. Heard you got early acceptance to Nerds College, huh?" His friends roared with laughter. I felt my face flush. Maya was sitting right next to him, and she refused to look up, her gaze fixed rigidly on her tray. That silence from her, that refusal to defend me, cut deeper than Kevin's mockery. "Leave me alone, Kevin," I mumbled, trying to pull away. He just tightened his grip. "Ah, the little genius is getting testy. You know, Maya told me she needed a real man, not some guy who spends his life talking to a computer. Some of us actually know how to use our hands for things other than typing, Alex." He gave a meaningful, disgusting wink. His words were designed to obliterate, to remind me of every insecurity I had ever confided in Maya. And the worst part? Maya still didn't look up. She was complicit in my destruction. I finally yanked my backpack free, the strap tearing slightly. I looked down at him, truly seeing him for the first time. Not as a rival, but as the arrogant bully who had wounded me beyond repair. "You think you're better than me, Kevin? You think a few touchdowns and a forced smile make you a real man?" I spat the words out. He laughed, a deep, booming, condescending sound. "I am better, Alex. I took your girl, and you know why? Because I'm a man of action. You're just a reaction. You just sit there and think about doing things. I do them." So that's the situation I was in. Standing in the middle of a crowded cafeteria, surrounded by onlookers, cornered by a bully who had just verbally, emotionally, and publicly emasculated me in front of the woman I loved. I had two paths: retreat, endure the shame, and nurse my wounds in silence as I'd always done, or fight, and risk catastrophic defeat just to prove one single, solitary point. Before I tell you what desperate, utterly reckless choice I made, I want you to pause and comment below what you would have done in my shoes. Would you have let his words stand? Would you have walked away to protect your future? Or would the shame, the heartbreak, and the need for redemption force your hand? I'm asking you right now. Would you have traded your brain for 5 seconds of reckless, physical fury? What is your breaking point? Hit that comment button now, because what I did next changed everything. His arrogance was the match to my tinderbox of pain. I didn't know how to throw a punch, but I knew how to solve a problem. Analyze the input, identify the weakness, and execute the most devastating code possible. My weakness was fear. His was overconfidence. Action, you say? I challenged, my voice surprisingly loud and clear, silencing the buzzing cafeteria. Then let's have some action, Kevin. Tonight. Behind the old field house. You me 1 round. No referees, no friends, just us. Winner gets to talk to Maya, to tell her his side, without the other ever interfering again. You think you're so much of a man, prove it. Don't let your little genius walk away without a fight. The challenge was out, irrevocable. Kevin's face shifted from smugness to genuine shock, then quickly morphed into pure, predatory glee. "You're on, nerd," he growled, dropping my backpack onto the floor with a theatrical flourish. "But when I break your glasses, don't cry to the principal." As I walked away, the silence was deafening. I glanced at Maya. She was finally looking up, and her face wasn't mocking. It was pale, horrified, and utterly captivated. The build-up to the fight was a slow-motion nightmare. I spent the afternoon not studying, but watching old boxing videos on YouTube, desperately trying to internalize basic footwork and how not to get concussed. My best friend, Sam, a fellow robotics club member, was beside himself. "Alex, he's twice your size. This is illogical. We need to inform someone." But I shook my head. This isn't about logic, Sam. This is about being seen. This is about proving I'm not safe or boring. It's about not letting him win everything. The scene behind the field house was exactly what you'd expect. A semicircle of morbidly curious students, mostly jocks expecting a quick spectacle, and Maya, standing slightly apart, her expression a mix of terror and fascination. I handed my glasses and my lucky MIT lanyard to Sam. I was shaking, cold with adrenaline, but something had crystallized inside me. A cold, hard determination. Kevin swaggered forward, shirtless, radiating brute force. You sure about this, Alex? You can still walk away. Keep your pretty face intact, he taunted, clearly enjoying the audience. I just took my stance, my hands held up awkwardly. Let's dance, Titan. The fight began with a blur of motion. Kevin was a whirlwind of muscle, throwing massive, predictable haymakers designed to end it in 3 seconds. He caught me with the first blow. A glancing strike to the shoulder that still felt like being hit by a cinder block. I stumbled back, tasting blood. The crowd roared his name. He came at me again, aiming for my head. This is where the training kicked in, not from YouTube, but from years of dodging insults and anticipating movement. I ducked lower than he expected, narrowly missing a crushing hook. He was strong, but he was slow, relying entirely on power. My strategy: survive the first minute, tire him out, and focus on the one thing I knew I could do better than him: endurance. I was a distance runner, fueled by code-induced anxiety. He was a sprinter, used to quick, decisive wins. I spent the next 45 seconds purely defensive, a frantic dance of dodging and weaving. He landed 2 more solid body shots, leaving me gasping for air, but I refused to go down. I focused on his feet, his labored breathing. Then I saw it, the weakness in his code. When he threw his powerful right hook, his left side dropped for a fraction of a second. It was the only opening I would get. He swung again, a thunderous right aimed at my temple. I dipped my head, letting the wind rush past my ear. And with every ounce of frustration, heartbreak, and sheer adrenaline I had left, I drove forward. Not a punch, but a desperate, low-slung tackle, aimed directly at his midsection and his knees. It was ugly, it was non-traditional, and it was devastatingly effective. Kevin, caught completely off guard, his center of gravity too high, went down with a sickening thud. He didn't just fall. He collapsed, his breath expelled in a loud whoosh as his massive bulk hit the unforgiving dirt. The crowd went silent, absolutely stunned. I scrambled up, my body screaming in protest, and stood over him, panting, my knuckles raw, but my eyes blazing with a fierce, unexpected victory. He lay there, winded, his face contorted in disbelief and rage. I hadn't knocked him out, but I had defeated his arrogance. You see, Kevin? I gasped, spitting a small amount of blood onto the ground. When you rely on brute force and no strategy, you lose. I analyzed your output. Your biggest weakness was yourself. Just then, the security lights flickered on, and the principal arrived, sirens wailing in the distance. The fight was over, the battle won, but the war for my future had just begun. Both Kevin and I received a mandatory 2-week suspension, and my MIT acceptance suddenly felt fragile. My parents were devastated, their perfect son now stained by violence. But the real, seismic shift happened the day after the fight. I found Maya waiting for me outside my house. She didn't look angry or scared. She looked thoughtful, almost reverent. I ended it, Alex, she said quietly. I ended it with Kevin this morning. He was furious, but I didn't care. It was never real. It was just a distraction. A thrill I chased because I was scared of the quiet certainty we had. My heart hammered against my ribs. So you're back? I asked, hope and terror mingling in my voice. She shook her head, a soft, heartbreaking motion. No, Alex. I'm not back. Not yet. But I saw you fight. You stood up for yourself, for us, for your dignity. I realized I never left you because you were boring. I left because I was scared of how much I needed you. I needed to see that you were a whole person, that you had that fire inside you, that you were willing to break the rules for something you believed in. She didn't return to me that day, or the next week, or even the next month. She went on a journey of self-discovery, finding the independence she desperately needed. And I focused on my code, on my classes, but I carried the lesson of that night with me. I learned that true strength wasn't in coding algorithms or winning football games. It was in the courage to face your greatest fear and fight for your truth. Kevin's reputation never recovered. The Titan was humbled by the nerd. And Maya and I? We stayed connected. We grew up, found our separate ways through college, And then slowly, deliberately, we rebuilt our foundation. Our love story didn't have a quick, cinematic ending. It had a quiet, enduring one, rooted in respect, honesty, and the shared knowledge that when things truly mattered, the quiet, safe genius was willing to throw down for the woman he loved. Years later, when she moved across the country to be with me, she told me, "I needed you to teach me that love is the ultimate act of courage. That night, you showed me you were the bravest man I knew." So I ask you one last time, was I wrong to fight? Maybe. But I gained something far more valuable than an unblemished record. I gained the chance to be truly seen, and eventually, the chance to reclaim the woman who was my other half. I would do it again, 1,000 times over, just for that moment of clarity. If you believe I did what I had to do, if you were in my corner the moment I took that desperate shot, then please smash the like button right now and subscribe to this channel for more deep dives into the emotional chaos of human experience. Tell me, in the comments below, what is the craziest, most illogical thing you've ever done out of pure love? Let's share those VIP emotional moments. I'll see you all in the next story.